Well, there's a book written by Dr. Peter Levy from York College called The Great Uprising. And he wishes to use the word uprising. He also described Cambridge, Maryland, and Baltimore, Maryland. So in York, there were a number of years of oppression of the black community in education, housing, employment, and this was simmering. And people were, particularly the black community, NAACP and other groups in the black community, were protesting against this. There were no changes. Then he brought in the K-9 Corps. And then there's a lot of police oppression of the black community. There were 3 incidents that occurred in late 68. And finally in 69, there was a young African-American man who went to the hospital. He had burns on his face. He said one of the white gangs did it to him, which he later recanted the story. But that set off the rioting. And the deaths occurred as a result of that rioting, and that's why the National Guard was brought in. But it was years and years of oppression of the black community, as well as in other areas throughout the whole country, that led to these uprisings.
Well, in the reports, too, that I've read of what went on here in Harrisburg and in York, there clearly were grievances the African American community had with regard to their representation in government, their access to jobs, including to city and government jobs, and to housing. It looked like there at that point had been white flight, but blacks were still not able to get quality, decent, affordable, decent housing during this time. And all of that was basically boiling over. The anger kind of erupted, especially with this woman, Mary Yancey's complaint that she simply went into the store. They've refused to open it. Her foot got caught, or they closed the door on her foot. And then police came, arrested her, and she says beat her up. So the community seems to have rose up after that. But from what you were saying, it seems to be a series of things that were simmering, that erupted.
Yes, in the black community in York, there are 2 census districts close to the creek. A large majority, many African Americans lived there. It was the most dilapidated housing, and they had difficulty. The value of their homes, well, they didn't own them. Most of them were rented, but their housing value was far less than the housing value elsewhere in the city. And because of the federal programs that started in 1950, they were not allowed to leave the city and populate the suburbs.
Yeah.
So federal law had a lot to do with it as well.
Sure, I see. One of the issues you brought up, or one of you brought up, was police. That the police also, there was a concern about how they responded to what was going on. And so the question, was there any sense that police overreacted or did not manage these incidents in a way that would have calmed things rather than exacerbated them? In fact, I think there's a police officer here with us today who might even talk about that. Apparently, in York, the issue was also some of the black police officers felt they were caught in the middle, that they did not really feel they, there were issues within their own ranks.
Bree Wilson, York County officer. Yes, there is. You feel like you're caught in the middle because you're on the police side per se, and then sometimes you're supposed to be on the community side as far as the African American community and or the Hispanic community. Sometimes you're mixed. Your race may be mixed, so it's the same outcome. You're not exactly sure all the time if you're coming or going. When you're at work, you have a job to do. When you're not at work, you have so many emotions. I don't even really know where to begin with that one.
But I can imagine 50 years ago. If you're saying that now.
I'm saying that now. And
50 years
I don't know
ago
about
when
50
it was
years
the
ago,
first.
because I wasn't born.
Yeah. But I can only imagine it must have been even harder for them. And these.
I believe it was.
Yeah.
I believe it was. Because in this day and age, and we're in 2019, and those things are still happening. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the community may not know a lot of it, but those things are still occurring.